The A Show.
Where smart is the new sexy.
And now, April Hunter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely, unequivocally excited. Is that a good word? Yeah, excited, but also curious. What am I talking about? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the A Show. I'm joined by my co-host, the beautiful and gorgeous and sexy and intelligent and just absolutely over April. April, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to have Tony Arterburn on today. This is a big deal. Thank you for joining us.
Hold on. We got to introduce the other co-host, and then I'm going to give Tony his. All right, I'm going to give Tony his.
Yeah, I know. You have a hell of a voice. Go. You do it. Do it right.
And ladies and gentlemen, joining us also is the former co-host, or still kind of co-host every once in a while, of the Ridiculously Random podcast with me, my good friend Colin Wyson. Colin, what's going on? And where are you? Are you in prison right now? What's going on?
Yeah, kind of. Sorry, somebody just tried to call me, so I'm recording this from my phone, so I may get interrupted. But it's great to have me. It's great to be here today. Thank you for having me back. As former producer and co-host of the show, I've actually got some great questions for Tony today. I'm kind of excited to ask him some things that I've been seeing and hearing in the last 4 or 5 days of everything that's been going on. So it's really great to have Tony on the show, and great to be here.
All right, and listen, for all you listening on audio only, you're like, who is this Tony? Ladies and gentlemen, now I had to really think about this because I said, every guest we have has some type of intro theme. So Tony, I don't know if you know this guy, but I figured we'd use this. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wait till it hits the gimmick, brother. He is a former paratrooper, world champion powerlifter. Ladies and gentlemen, he ran for Congress, host of Afterburn radio transmission and America Unplugged, formerly of InfoWars. He is a historian, owner of Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Exchange, and occasionally he's the host of the David Knight Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one, the only, what you gonna do, brother, when Tony Arterburn runs wild on you, dude. Let's give a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Arterburn, he is here. Oh yeah, brother.
That's really good. Say your prayers and take your vitamins, kids.
There you go.
It's a great intro. It's nice to be associated with Mr. Hogan.
Are you really?
No, I said I was proud to be associated. You associated me. You put me together. I mean, my intro now forever. I may have to start playing that on my own show.
Let me tell you something, brother. I mean, I've heard things about you and your legendary power, your strength. Just before we do anything, is it possible for you to bend like one of those frying pan things real quick?
I've bent every one in my house already. I could unbend one. You may go get one to unbend. I can.
No, it's fine. It's fine. April, it's all yours.
No, okay. So today's show, we're going to talk about the war that's going on, and because I'm definitely not an expert in this field, and I feel like we're not entitled to our opinion. I feel like we're entitled to our educated opinion. And this is not something that I'm educated enough about to speak on. So I'm really, really happy that you're here, because not only would I like to know a lot about what you know, but I think there's a lot of people who are kind of where I'm at as far as not knowing what's going on, not knowing what's real, not knowing the media, shall we say, the media tends to put out some things and not other things.
No.
And I would say that misinformation usually is missing information. So it would be really super great if you kind of fill us in a little bit on what's going on.
Yeah, jump in, Tony.
I'd be happy to. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself any kind of expert on geopolitics, but my background and my love of history, it lets me know enough to be dangerous to go on enough shows and talk about it. So I'll preface my opinion with, I've had real life experience. I fought in 3 foreign wars as a U.S. Army paratrooper and military policeman.
Thank you, sir.
My unit was part of the 1st Army Company on the ground in Kandahar, Afghanistan after 9/11. I was part of the tail end of the invasion of Iraq. I came home as a combat veteran, and over the years, if you've watched some of my shows or listened to my podcast, you know the story where I'm very much anti-war. Much like Smedley Butler, who was the most highly decorated Marine general up until he died in the 1940s. He wrote a book called War is a Racket, and it very much is. And so, the first casualty of war is the truth. So I'd like anything that we're going to talk about tonight, folks, I'd like to say that I don't have a dog in the fight. My hope is with the people in general, human beings trying to live their lives, raise their families, live in peace and prosperity. I think that should be a human right. Most of the times we're taken to war by bankers. We're taken to war by politicians, sociopathic people, if you want to call them that, if they have souls, I don't know. Because if you've seen war up close and you see what it does to a child, you see what it does. You see what a smart bomb does, right? Supposedly smart bombs, we can have limited collateral damage. That's a lie. It's just made it more it's more antiseptic, to people. It's less. The numbers are less, so it's not as catastrophic on the the statistics. So I would say that modern warfare is perpetual in much nature. Same thing with what we're looking at here with the Hamas and Israeli conflict. So let's talk about, again, I'm not pro Israel. I'm not pro Hamas.
Right.
But I do know some background and some history here. I'm a Christian, and a lot of in the United States, if you're a Christian in most churches in what's accepted evangelical and Baptist and Southern Baptist and some of these other areas, you find a lot of Christian Zionism. And what that means is people that have a belief that really out front of all of their faith is the promotion of the modern state of Israel. I think that they're mistaken on what that means. So I'm not a proponent of Israel, but I'm also not on the other side saying, I'm a proponent so much of Hamas or these tactics or anything like that. So let's make that clear. But you have to understand the history of Israel to get to where you are now. And this goes back to the end of the 19th century. You started to see the beginnings of the political Zionism in many circles, where the idea of a creation of a homeland for the Jewish people, especially of Europe, could be created out of what's then called Palestine. It was controlled by the Turks, the Ottoman Turks. Of course, Turkey fell on the side of Germany in World War I, and because they still controlled that territory. And there was a famous declaration by Lord Balfour, sponsored, actually was a letter to Lord Rothschild in 1917, I believe, for this declaration to take place, that the British government recognized Palestine, once they were able to occupy it, would eventually become a Jewish homeland. And that was, again, you can go into some dark history, some deep history there. A lot of people believe there was a quid pro quo from the Rothschilds, agents and people that controlled the Woodrow Wilson administration of the United States leading up into World War I, that they were able to get Wilson into the war. That was the quid pro quo. Lord Balfour told Lord Rothschild, we'll have this declaration if you get America into the war. Can I prove that? I can't. But you can see the inner workings of, again, the behind the scenes to create the state of Israel. This is coming from large banking houses. This is especially the Rothschilds are really heavy into the beginnings of the modern state of Israel. And, my friend James Perloff, who wrote the book, Truth is a Lonely Warrior, probably one of the most knowledgeable scholars on this. I've had him on my show, and he's like, hey, the modern state of Israel is not God's plan. This is a Rothschild's invention. And he's a Christian, and he's half Jewish. So, this isn't a anti-Zionist thing. I'm just giving you some information. Mm-hmm. So you have, the end of World War II. There still wasn't, the British had occupied that territory since they defeated Germany in World War I after the Treaty of Versailles. So there was a clamoring to put together that state finally. And this is something that not a lot of people like to talk about, but the beginning of the modern state of Israel began with terrorism. It did. They used terroristic tactics. They blew up hotels with British soldiers in them, car bombs, assassinations. They used the weapon of the week. They used terror to create. Matter of fact, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, they follow the same tactics that the early Zionists used. And this is just history. It gets whitewashed and it gets buried in memory hold in modern news because there's so much at stake here. You know, there's so much propaganda. And I would say whenever you have a major event like this, the first thing I think when somebody's attacked, because I know about the history of surprise attacks, you know, like, were we surprised on December 7th, 1941? No, FDR knew about Pearl Harbor in advance. And this is just basic history. So, you know, when they want to rush to war, you always want to pull back and say, okay, all about security, but rushing to war is never the answer. There needs to be understanding how it was allowed to happen. And we can get into that, you know, because I have questions, you know, and there's stories everywhere. I mean, the Egyptian intelligence was tipping them off and called Netanyahu weeks before the attack. So there's that, you know, there's the
That's actually one of my questions.
The potential let it happen or LIHOP event. Yeah,
it's a LIHOP, but we don't know. And that's why everybody has to be careful that, you know, cooler heads need to prevail when you're talking about human lives are at stake here, and a possible spillover into a world war, because nobody fights big wars anymore through nation states. They fight through proxies and terrorist organizations and whatever they fight asymmetrical war, and that's dangerous because it can lead to bigger conflict, which I believe is probably behind this. There's some kind of need, you know, cui bono, who benefits. So, you know, going back to more history, we have the creation of the modern state of Israel. Harry Truman officially recognized them in 1947, at the end of 1947, going into 48, because he was in an election year. He had a lot of pressure to do that. And you have the modern nation state of Israel. A lot of people were against it. They said it's going to drive a wedge between Iran and the West. It certainly did. Iran fell into the column of what was then the Soviet Union and now Russia. Russia is very much hand in glove with Iran. You know, our influence in the Middle East, and this is a long story, but you know, I remember being in Iraq and kind of thinking about all the things that threaten Israel. It's not really terrorism that threatens Israel so much as it is nation states. You go back to the 1967 war that they had. They were almost defeated by, you know, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, you know, Lebanon. These were nation states that were threatening Israel. Same thing 50 years ago to the day of this attack was the Yom Kippur War in 1973. They were almost taken out, and it was Richard Nixon. They called Richard Nixon just happened to be on his last leg as a president, and they pissed him off.
Can I just ask really quickly? They were saying that this was some sort of retaliation for that war 50 years ago.
It's possible. I mean, we don't realize people have long memories in these other parts of the world. I mean, we as Americans are, you know, we have goldfish memories. Not many. It's not cool to know things here. It's not cool to know history. You know, you're not really put up on a pedestal or thought smart. But I learned this as a young man going into Kosovo and talking to these old Serbian farmers. You know, we took Kosovo away from the Serbs. We bombed Serbia for 78 days. I didn't know this history. I'm showing up as a U.S. troop trying to secure the border. By the way, we secure borders everywhere else but our own country. Yeah, and I remember being in Kosovo as a young soldier. I was, you know, 19, 20 years old. And, you know, you talk to these old farmers and they'd be like, why'd you turn your back on us? We fought with you in World War II. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And they remembered, you know, why would you turn your back on us? So there's all these things that we don't know that lead up to these conflicts, but the media is like, hey, there was just this attack out of nowhere.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
um,
Suddenly.
just suddenly, you know, it's kind of like
Suddenly doesn't
9/11.
happen.
There's like 9/11. There's like all of a sudden these people found a copy of the Constitution in a cave and went berserk. They couldn't stand it. They had to fly planes into buildings to stop our freedom. And that's so stupid. You know, you look at what's happening here, you need to rewind it, take a breath, think about things for more than a minute. You know, don't let the commentators, the bloodthirsty Fox News or MSNBC or any of these psychopaths lead you to war because they love it. It's good for ratings.
It's money.
If it bleeds, it leads. If it bleeds, it leads.
Yep.
So I can't pretend to know all the motivations behind Hamas. I mean, recently, you know, Jimmy Carter was in Palestine area, the Gaza Strip and Israel, promoting his book, you know, Peace, Not Apartheid. Like he was using those words. This is not that long ago, 10, 12 years ago. Jimmy Carter caught a lot of flack for that because he was saying, look, we need a unification here, figure out how to have, you know, these two things meet politically. But, you know, the modern state of Israel, you had a lot of people that were displaced, and that's where you get the Gaza Strip. And again, I'm painting this with a broad brush, but you had a lot of people that were displaced by that creation of the modern nation state of Israel, and those people became what you call them Palestinians because that land was formerly known as Palestine. A lot of people will get mad at me and say there never was such a place. Again, I'm not taking a side. I'm not an anti-Zionist per se. I'm not pro-Palestinian. I'm skeptical of nation states clamoring for war, taking us to war, and people not understanding the background here. And Hamas go ahead.
I'm sorry, I want to jump in. The reason why I wanted to have you on, and this all happened organically, just so you have a full understanding, Tony. I had posted something after I saw that there was an attack on Israel, right? And I posted something pro-Israel. Again, my father was a Christian pastor, and I was raised in you know, as a Christian. Long story short, I was attacked for picking a side. And my thought process, and April, you understand, and I'm sure Colin understands, it wasn't a thing of me picking a side. It was me mourning those people that got hurt. And I'll be honest with you, if the same thing happened to Palestine, if the same thing happened to Russia, I mean, there are plenty of, there are many people out there that are absolutely innocent pawns in this whole disgusting war for money, possibly. And I just wanted you to understand why. And I said, Billy Ray, there's a signal. It's like a bat signal, but it has a picture of Billy Ray's face. It went out to the Bronx in New York. And Billy Ray says, I know the guy to bring on this show. And then this is how we got hooked up. So just understand that now I have your phone number. So I'm gonna be calling you or texting you with questions. April, you want to jump in?
I'll add to that. No, I deliberately did not want to take any sides because I don't know the whole story, and I know enough now that the whole story is usually hidden from us. But what struck me was the suddenly aspect of it and how severe it was. And I don't believe in suddenly. I'm a Kabbalist. So there's no such thing as suddenly. There's no sudden heart attacks. There's things that were done leading up to heart attacks. There's no there's no sudden attacks. There's things that lead up to it. So there's nobody suddenly getting famous. They worked for it. So when I see sudden, I think to myself, and I see how severe these attacks were, and I'm like, I wanted to know what triggered this, what might have caused this, where did it come from? So, like I said, I don't know the whole story, but I'm sure that this didn't happen for no reason. So then I started looking into the timeline of all these terrorist attacks that seem to have gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for quite a while, for whatever reason. Like I said, I don't know enough, but it seems like everybody jumped on one side or the other and had a knee-jerk reaction based on whatever the media was feeding them.
Right. We're primed for that. We're already primed to take. So the divide's already there.
Right. With whatever slant is given. And I just didn't want to do that. All I said is, we're reacting. And this has been going on for a very long time, and we don't know the whole story. That's it.
And Tony, really quickly, Colin's been very quietly sitting there, so patient.
Yes.
Because I know he really wants to interact with you. So Colin, please don't freeze. Okay, there he is. Do you have anything you wanted to just kind of ask Tony before he continues to kind of break things down for us?
Oh, no. So I'm not looking at this as kind of this war and everything. I'm looking at it as what propaganda and type of stuff that they're throwing out there to the media, right? I don't know if all of you, one of my questions are, have y'all seen the videos about the young girl at the rave whose
Yes.
body was paraded around in the back of the truck?
Yeah.
This is quite, yes. Now, when the first time I saw the tweet, right now I feel like we're programmed for these types of things. First time I saw the tweet about the mom posting that, no, she's not an Israeli citizen. She's my daughter and she's a German nationalist. Oh my God, can we find her, right? Then all of a sudden, next you see is the girl being paraded around is that same girl. I don't know if you guys have heard, but recently the mom has come out within a day or two and said, no, I'm getting notes that my daughter's alive. She's alive. She just has some kind of severe head trauma and she's possibly alive. So now it's like, what is it? You know, they throw these things out in the first 24 to 48 hours. That's something I want to pay attention to and kind of alert to everyone that's going on. But also a technical side of this, Tony, you being a former paratrooper, these guys, how is it that they evaded one of the most secure states in the world with paratroopers
Just coming
and
down.
paragliders, because I saw videos too of guys on
Coming
like
down real
Mario
slow, by
Karts
the way,
with
right?
the big fans on the back of them, just kind of flying in, landing down. And how does one in the most secure state with this Iron Dome that they have,
Not a
how
shot
do
fired.
they get through in this area as a paratrooper?
Well, Colin, really quickly, how did the Chinese balloon fly over the United States for like a month?
Well, that's yeah. Hey,
Just anyway.
they're not. These guys didn't get there on balloons. I guarantee it, though.
No kidding. What's up, Tony?
Well, I go back to something that FDR said. He said, if something happens in politics, you can bet it was planned. This has been planned. You don't, if you're Mossad, you don't miss this. I'm sorry, you don't. There's no way they didn't know. Somebody knew something in advance. Now, whether or not they can put together the apparatus to defend it, I don't know. And again, I'm not casting blame or saying anything. I'm just saying there's something wrong with this whole deal. You got innocent people on the line on both sides, and there's major propaganda going on. But coming from what I've seen as a young man, I caution people about the rush to war. You always hear this leading up to a war. Our boys will be home by Christmas.
Oh,
bullshit.
Yeah.
No, they will not.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
2 weeks to flatten the all that. It's propaganda of the highest order, and that's what you get with these people. They push it. We can't wait. No time to negotiate. We have to send in the bulldozers. We have to lock it down. We have to pull the electric and pull the water. And again, there's something wrong with the picture. You got this mass amount of casualties. But if you step back for a minute, you start seeing the big picture, which is the geopolitical picture. And that's these proxy wars through nation states. You know, you have like the proxy war against Yemen that Saudi Arabia is running, and we help, right? We help Saudi fight the Yemenis through using our weapons because they're a proxy to Iran. Right. This is a war. This is a war on energy. This is a war of who controls the supply of things. The Strait of Hormuz. Like, this isn't Fox News. We're going to actually talk to you about the big, not just give you a boom and this happened and look at these terrible images. You have to step back and think, okay, why is this happening? And again, who benefits? You know, you have to, it's really strange. Like, I remember when I first started my radio career, it was in 2013. And I caught a lot of flack because I was talking about Assad in Syria. And it was so damning. The radio station I was on, every single conservative host, who's, by the way, went on to have syndication. And because of the stances I've taken, which I'm proud to do, I didn't get those things because I said, well, this is something we need to be skeptical of, this rush to war, because supposedly Assad had gassed his own people, or, you know, he released chemical weapons. later shown complete false flag. I mean, the white hats that were there, sponsored by the West, and then the Five Eyes and the intelligence networks had their hand in that. But I had on my show, I had 3 combat veterans and my captain from Afghanistan on the show. All of us said it was a false flag. We followed all these different shows. So I've been doing this a while, saying there's no way tactically, how does this benefit you? And you got to wonder, like Hamas, like what's the end game here? Is it just violence? Is it just the weapon of the weak? Because terrorism is the weapon of the weak. You have you can't deal. You have no heft. There's no geopolitical pressure. There's no leverage. You kill people. I get it. That's history. That's what's always happened. Insurgencies. Sometimes they're called freedom fighters. Sometimes they're called terrorists. Sometimes it depends on what your perspective is. Now, if you're taking people, I don't care. If you're the United States government and you are invading a country that never attacked you, didn't want war with you, to strip it of weapons it didn't have, that's terroristic. Mm-hmm. It is. And I took part in that. I don't know what that makes me. But I was there. I mean, I was in part of some of these wars. I think when you have an unjust war, and I look at what's happening with Hamas, you see some of these images and you go, these people are bloodthirsty murderers. And I get it. Like, you're going to be able, they got propaganda for years now. Like, Hamas just handed the world media all the ammunition it needs for them to be illegitimate, terroristic, thugs, killers, murderers. They did. Yeah. And there's a history leading up to all this. So again, war is a racket. So I don't know. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
War's a racket. I mean, that's a great way.
I actually have a point to play off of what Tony was saying with the propaganda aspect of things. What is the end game of all this, Tony? Right?
I think we all do on that.
So what could be one of the scenarios of the end game? Think about the boogeyman that they always present on TV. Now, I go back in history to 2010 when supposedly North Korea did the hack on Sony. They were showing pictures of Kim Jong-un in front of 1970s still, like, computers that you saw in Dr. Strangelove, literally. Like, I feel like Peter Sellers was going to slide right into view, just like hit some keys on the thing, right? Then you still see the terrorists that they were showing during a lot of the 2000 stuff. These guys were still driving 1980s Toyotas and carrying RPGs that look like they're from the 70s and 80s.
Hold on.
Colin. Now,
1980s Toyotas are very good cars.
Mm-hmm.
They are very good cars, yes. But I
drive a Toyota.
I had a 2001 Honda Honda CRV that I put almost 400,000 miles on. They can upgrade their cars nowadays, right? So with that being said, now the terrorists, now you're seeing these pictures ever since Afghanistan, where we left all those weapons, Fast and Furious, where we just let weapons disappear. Now the terrorists have M14s. Now they have M16s. Now they're driving armored cars and new vehicles and things. They're an upgraded boogeyman weapon-wise. And I think that's also been something that's played into a lot of what we're seeing nowadays and things that have led up to this.
Of course it is.
I'll go back to enjoying my TNH barbecue cheese here while I get your answer there, Tony. But how do you feel about that?
But before Tony, you answer that question, April, you wanted to say something really quickly?
Yeah, I basically just wanted to piggyback off of what you guys are saying. So just a few things right in there. So my friend who is Jewish said that if Palestine would just put their weapons down, there would be peace. Yeah. And if Israel put their weapons down, it would cease to exist. So with that said, false flag situations have real victims. We know that. And a lot of theories out there today are saying that this is their version of 9/11. Do you feel that that could be an assessment?
Sure. Because if you know anything about 9/11, it's the same thing with Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. I mean, what kind, you're telling me, like we just did an event, Free World NYC. I spoke there, it was very proudly, an event we held on just looking into 9/11, and carrying the torch of 9/11 truth, which I'm happy to be a truther.
That was a great conference, by the way. And I heard the gentleman that made the logo for you guys was extremely handsome.
I heard that.
I wish I'd been able to make that. I was invited. So it sounded like it was amazing.
Next year. next
Yes.
year.
Yes.
Honestly, April, it was an honor for my first time going to the grounds of 9/11 to have been there with Tony, Billy Ray Valentine, and Charlie Robinson that night, as Tony's first time being there as well. It was pretty amazing.
Oh, it was your first time?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was. You know, and I went back on the actual anniversary, and I had a physical reaction to it, just emotional reaction. I mean, a lot of my life is turned upside down and altered in ways that I can't even. You know, my son wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that. I met his mother, you know, serving in Afghanistan. That's when I, you know, so there's so much in my life that is different because of that, and I'm happy to research it, you know, and look deep into it. And so that's another example of nobody knew, right? Again, there's a lot to unpack here, and we don't know enough yet. We will. There'll be some people do some great journalism. We'll have the hindsight of time and things that unravel. So we don't know. That's why we always need to put the brakes on. There's no way. See, Hamas can't destroy Israel. Israel has 300 nuclear weapons, a first-rate air force, a first-rate army. They are a powerful, powerful nation state. Very financial. Their financial strength is pretty much, I mean, pound for pound, it's unparalleled. I read one time that Israeli-backed companies own about 75% of the NASDAQ. So they're not. And we give them billions a year. Go ahead, April.
No, I was just going to say, don't they have mandatory military service for at least a year or two with every single citizen?
That sounds right. I know that they have, and they have people that, you know, they have to carry weapons. It's a very militaristic.
They've armed their children.
So even the citizens can kick your ass.
Yeah, I think, like I said, they said that they have actually armed their children in schools too, because it has cut down. Unlike us, where they're trying to ban guns, they've taken the opposite tack, like you know, Switzerland or other places, and there's
a lot with Israel. Like you could do a show on that to unpack on how they view the freedom of the individual, freedom of religion, very different than what we would understand. And I don't know enough to really have an opinion there, other than I'm an American, and I hear a lot of my fellow Americans, they're very, because of their Christian Zionism, are very much pro-Israel, to forgive Israel of everything. But I have questions like the USS Liberty in 1967. I have questions. A lot of people do. The people that are on that boat do. If anybody knows that history, you should look into it. This is a very odd thing that happened in 1967 when Lyndon Johnson was president. And again, the 67 war, and again, there's a lot of history. My friend James Perloff has written about the USS Liberty. You should look at his writings and his research on that. You know, he had, I think about, 38 sailors that were killed by Israeli aircraft on a U.S. boat, the USS Liberty. It was our ship. It was in international waters, and it was hit by unmarked aircraft. And there's a lot of people that speculate that they were trying to show that make it look like it was Egypt, so we would get into the war. Maybe Lyndon Johnson had his own hand in that. So there's mysterious things about the USS Liberty, and you know, and Israel also it sells weapons technology to the Chinese that they got from us. They have 300 nuclear weapons. That's not authorized. They got the uranium from us, and that was one of the things that JFK hit the roof about. JFK pissed off just about everybody, including the Israelis. He pissed off the Israelis because they wanted the bomb, and he was against nuclear proliferation. So there's so much here geopolitically, and you got to look at so Hamas is what? Hamas is the political wing, or the of the PLO, and who are they? Well, they tracks back to, you know, there's Hezbollah, there's Hamas, and that tracks back to Iran, which is the Shia factions. Basically, the Iran is Persian, which is Shia Muslim, and then then you have the Sunni Muslims, which are basically your Iraq, a big portion of Iraq south of the Euphrates, and then you've got Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, which is Sunni. Then you go back to Syria's Shia. It's a mixture. So there's a lot here. And you got to see what threatens Israel, in my opinion, is not really terrorism, because they have the Iron Dome, they built the wall, all that stuff, the stuff we can't do. They built this, they cut down suicide bombings almost to zero. And that's the one of the things, you know, in our country, that's how I always call BS on our war on terror. It's not real, because if it was real, we'd have a border. And our elites don't care. They actually, I think our elites invite this kind of stuff because it puts us on a war footing. And then you can have people like me locked up. Like, oh, that's a dissident. He doesn't care. He's part of it. He's giving aid and a comfort to the evildoers or whatever. Because that's what happens when you get into war fever. Like, we have to go to war. Watch the Twitter feeds. It's really disgusting. Mm-hmm. And because I'm talking about both sides. It gets people that are,
they get worked up.
Worked up. Like, look at this. Well, they deserve, Israel deserved this because it's been punishing the Palestinians and for decades.
Tony, we've
the energy.
We've talked about this on the show before. Yeah, they get that. They want that emotional reaction. They do it with the Black Lives Matter. They do it with all that. They want you to get that first emotional reaction. So you react on emotion and not logic.
All right,
divide and conquer. It's the favorite thing that the elites do. They don't have emotions like you and I. No. They don't have that. They don't have the same. You got to understand the world is controlled by sociopathic narcissists. Yeah. Psychopaths.
And then people fall for this two-party bullshit. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. That doesn't take you anywhere.
No. They just want you divided, because God forbid we unite, because all the good things that have ever happened in America happened when people got together and united. Why do you think they want to keep us separate and fighting over gender and race and all of it? They want to isolate us in our houses, and they just want to keep everybody away from other people all the time.
This takes me to this question, and it's a question, a statement. I was in a group chat with two of my close friends, and my thought process is this, Tony, and I'm going to ask you about this. My biggest fear as an American citizen is the border. I'll explain to you why. Do you not find it weird or find it unfunny how now we have tons and tons of legal immigrants who we do not know who the hell they are coming into this country? What are the chances that this was planned, number one, to have multiple members of Hamas enter the United States and spread out throughout the United States to plan something, you know, in the four corners? Let's put it the four corners of the country, and just have one day, just one mass boom. I'm not saying boom, a bomb. I'm just saying like one mass attack in individual parts of the country. Number one. Number two, am I wrong for being absolutely terrified that we have illegals pouring into this country, not knowing whether they're working with Hamas, working with China, working with, you know, we have no idea who they are. This is my fear. Now, with that being said, I have to be clear. There are certain people, I'm sure there is a percentage of those people who are genuinely wanting to make a better life for themselves. I actually have talked to them, Tony. I live in New York City. I work in a residential building. I see these people collecting bottles to live, coming from another country, collecting bottles to live and deposit them for cash. These people that I've spoke to, they have no other option. They had no other choice but to come here. I get that. But Tony, my fear as an American here is that I feel that something big is going to happen. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I feel like you feel. And as a matter of fact, my heart breaks for those people, because we should have a system where they should be allowed to get here legally in a way that they can work and contribute. I agree with that. The problem is the immigration has been so large and so out of proportion for so long that we need a moratorium. We can't do anymore. It's been too far gone. It's nowhere in the American character that we've done this mass immigration like this. We've done waves in the past, but it never reached these kind of numbers. You're talking about 1 million a year legally, mostly from the third world, and untold millions that come over the decades illegally. We don't even know that number.
Sorry, Tony, I left a very important part. And do you find it also, I'm sorry, I have to get this in. I know we only have you for like 20 more minutes. And they're also trying to take guns away from us. So if that internal invasion comes, that was the part I left I didn't read in my notes. If that internal invasion does come, how the hell are we going to defend ourselves? Our military has gone, I'm sorry to say, sir, has gone soft. They're
On
being
purpose.
described. U.S.
They're
military.
weakening and feminizing the men. They're demonizing
That's
men
called
too.
cultural. That's called cultural Marxism.
U.S. military. U.S.
And they're
military
taking
personnel.
feminine power away from women. They're trying to make them
Right.
butchy, and it's so obvious, the whole everything that's going on. It's so obvious.
April, I've seen U.S. military personnel being described as skinny fat. I kid you not.
Yeah, most of them couldn't pass the health test.
No.
I'm twice their
Ray,
age,
Ray,
and I
can
could
I-
kick their twice their age. I
Can I calm you down though?
Oh no.
There was something. There
don't have
was
any of that
something
cheese,
that our
Colin.
there was something that our forefathers put in that will help us, and that's the Second Amendment.
Wow.
Do you know how many people in the South alone probably have enough guns to give everyone in their neighborhood a gun if they need to defend, and know probably tactics on how to defend? I live in a neighborhood where guns are shot off daily because there's sheriffs that live in my neighborhood. So I know I'm protected pretty well because I know these people around me know how to use
they know how to
guns.
use it.
But I'm in New York City,
But that's
brother.
that's the thing. Now think about it. In New York City, no, because the criminals have them. The criminals still get them. Do you think that the terrorists or any of these guys are gonna wind up in the Bronx or Harlem and try to mess around where there might be Crips or Bloods hanging out? What do you think the first thing that's gonna happen?
Okay.
And to make a point, someone said something about 9/11. One of the only times that this country has seen racial, like, total peace was right after 9/11, because guess what? We had a boogeyman. We were all angry at people over in the Middle East. We all had one goal and we were all pointed. And up until Barack Obama got back in office, did any of that racial kind of peacefulness that we had, all got destroyed. And that was probably by design as well. But I want to ask this question too, with what's going on here. No, I know, but this will piggyback on your question, right? As long with them doing that here to scare people, with us refilling the Iron Dome, doing a lot of this stuff to help out Ukraine, help out Israel, do you think China's over there licking their lips, just waiting, staring at Taiwan, just being like,
Taiwan, like
this, yeah, like they're over there, they're coming like Birdman from behind the tree, just rubbing his hands, ready to just, get their grips on Taiwan, because we are a little spread out too thin here.
It's a lot to mull over, Tony. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna shut up and let you talk, sir.
Well, everything, really almost all of our modern issues track back to us not having a border, or at least it reveals the problem. Like you look at COVID 1984, how the big tell that it isn't what they say it is because we had no border. If it was the deadliest thing ever, and we got to stop travel and we got to stop the planes and don't touch the cash because you're going to die, but then you can just walk across. That's the tell.
Yeah.
The same thing with the war on terror, which Gore Vidal said would be like a war on dandruff. Like it's a tactic, and it's never ending, which is on purpose. No border. I'll go a little bit scarier on this. I think I support some legal immigration. At this point, I don't know. We've had so much, and I feel my heart breaks for people that need to get here and want to work. But my goodness, we're losing the country by design. I call it weapons of mass immigration. We're just destroying any semblance of equilibrium. And this is on purpose, like crashing the border. Really, what it's supposed to demoralize you, to make you think we're some pitiful giant. Like we can't police ourselves. We don't have rule of law. The military doesn't know what to do. We don't know what to do. That's all by design to destroy your mind, to make you think
every man is becoming a woman.
Right. Well, that's internal. But see, that'll be flipped. See, because what they're going to, I think, in my opinion, what this is all about with the border is to make you beg for authoritarianism. Beg for it. Please, Mr. Whatever save affiliation, come in and save us, Mr. Dictator, Mr. Whatever, or her, or him. I might even be misgendering it. It might be, I don't know, it might be neutral. I don't know what it's going to be, but people are going to beg for an authoritarian. And I think, I saw Biden, is talking about building the wall, and people were, on the right was saying, oh, finally we're going to build the wall. I'm like, it's to keep you in.
Yes.
It's not to keep people out. See, the time to do anything about border security was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I ran for Congress, I used to make people like scratch their heads, because this is 10 years ago or 11 years ago. And I'd say, let's bring the troops from, home from South Korea and put them in South Texas. We don't need to be there anymore. What's that? 70 years ago. What does that even mean? What's that conflict there? The Cold War's over, and people be like, well, what about our role? I'm like, you're watching Fox News. That's the military industrial complex with mind control. Like, so you need to take a step back, and when you always think about what you're being primed to beg for. You're being primed to beg for authoritarianism, and that terrorism is the favorite thing of the elites. They like to use it because it's visible, it hits the populace, and again, it's for effect. It causes a lot of fear. It's built into the name. It's right there. It's to make you feel terror, because then you can be malleable. You can be manipulated, and that's what this is all about. It's a tool. I don't know all of what's happening, because none of us do. Nobody on this panel, almost nobody in this world knows exactly what happened with the attack on Israel. I condemn it. There's something to it. Whenever you see an attack, it's not just that thing, especially this coordinated with 2,000 plus rockets. You're telling me Mossad didn't know about that? Mossad knows. It knows Jeffrey Epstein's client list, right? It knows. But I mean, do you know about the dancing Israelis that were arrested on 9/11? They're in New Jersey.
Don't forget about the art students. Yeah. The art students in World Trade Center 7, Tony.
I know about that too. But I'm just even the FBI, there's released their camera footage just a couple of years ago. They were in federal prison for 70 days, released back to Israel, went on Israeli television and said, "We were just there to document the event." What does that mean?
Yeah, okay.
You were there. You were dancing too. You were celebrating. Somebody knew something. That I didn't make that up. You can go look for it yourself, audience, if you want to. That's something. I have lots of questions. Always dig deeper. There's some other meaning behind an event, because a lot of times events are not what they are. They're language. They're communications between powerful nation states and financial interest. I don't have all the pieces to the puzzle, but this isn't about terrorism. This is about reshuffling the grand chessboard. It may be a Hail Mary on some of the part of the power elites. You go back to General Wesley Clark. He went back when he was Supreme Allied Commander of NATO during our operation in Kosovo when I was a soldier. And then he retired and he came back after 9/11, went to the Pentagon, and they said, "Hey, General, I got to tell you, they're cooking up this war in Iraq." And he goes, "Why?" He goes, "Well, they're supposedly we're going to hit 7 countries in 5 years." You can go watch him say this. And he was like, "Why would they do that?" Because they had a new administration full of neoconservatives. These are Trotskyites, people that followed the revolutionary advice of Leon Trotsky, that hoodwinked Christian conservatives to think that bloodthirsty democracy wars are part of conservatism, and they're not. That's why you see Twitter's full of this kind of, it's very schizophrenic. It's like, we want a small government. We want small, independent, nation, but also fight all these wars in the Middle East, and we have to. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You can't be both. This is something, I remember saying that being anti-war was on the left. I'm like, that's where George Washington was. I mean, being anti-war is not that you don't, human. I'm not a pacifist.
It's human.
I'm not a pacifist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I believe sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to get your hands. This is a brutal world where you have to defend. But being a warrior and being a protector is a lot different than being an aggressor. That is something is totally different. That's another
or a real bully.
Real bully.
There's what they call a bully now, and there's a real bully, if you know what I mean.
Well, the difference between a warrior and a soldier does what they're told to do. A warrior does what's right.
Oof. It's the highest ethic, April. I mean, I study it. I study the warrior arts, and that's what I don't know if I'm there yet, but I aspire to be every day. That's what I want to be. And because I believe in my heart of hearts,
not fighting.
To fight the righteous battle and to protect those who can't protect themselves. That's not what this is. There's something, when you start talking about massive retaliation and all this, I mean, it just really breaks my heart, because this is going to spill over into something much wider, which, by the way, is always the plan. You're talking about an event happening on our shores because somebody got in through the border. Would not the alphabet agencies, the military industrial complex, love that? I mean, just another way to lock down, another way to control information, another way to raise capital, and push, military contracts in the military industrial complex. There's so much here. The world is not what it seems. I don't have all the information. I don't have the brain power to break it down. I just know I look at the mainstream media. I look at a lot of I look at conservative talk radio and go, guys, you're not asking the big questions. You're really just not. You're following is too emotional. You have to step back and really ask, how do we get here? Where are we going? Who benefits?
I'm going to jump in real quick. We have Tony literally for 10 minutes. That'll make the hour. Colin, is there any questions that you have, or April? I'll stay quiet for this segment. I want you guys to get your stuff in, because I want to make sure that we can ask Tony the questions and then have Tony promote some great stuff that he's doing.
I do.
No, I just have one point, April. I know never trust anything that the UN has its hands on, and the UN has its fingerprints all over Israel. So,
all right, that's a good point. All right, yeah. April.
My question is: people are worried. You know, they're nervous, they're fearful, they're angry, they're hurt, they're seeing terrible images. They're seeing people celebrate. Without understanding everything. And like, again, I'm not taking sides, but it does seem pretty gross. But, you know, somebody asked what the New York City with the PLO, they wrote the WLO, the POC, all these things. How, what am I trying to say here? What is your advice for people to try and find peace and not live in fear?
It's a great question.
And try to stay, you know, calm their minds and not worry about this is going to end up on their doorstep. And to understand that a lot of this is manipulation. And while this might lead to something bigger eventually, right now, this, you know, they should not stress so much.
Right.
Or maybe they should. Well, like, what is your advice there?
And be honest, Tony. We can take it, brother.
It's never time to panic. One of my favorite quotes that rolls around in my head often, especially in this age where you just really don't know what's up or down, is something General Douglas MacArthur said. And he was a god of war, if there ever was one. Probably the greatest general since Alexander the Great. And he said, there is no safety on this earth, only opportunity. There's no fortresses. There's no bunker. There's nowhere to hide. You're engaged in this world, in this life. So I would say the best way to respond is to work on yourself. It's to come to terms that you live in this world and there is no safety. Not really. You can share information with people. You can lead by example. It's a spiritual war. It's a war for the mind. You can't win this with weapons. It doesn't work that way. It just gets bigger. And the people that want you to fight those wars, they relish in it. They relish in the violence. So don't take the bait. And I look at images of people being killed and you know, people being tortured. It makes my blood boil. I get it. You want to hurt those people. You want put those people away. I get it. But you also got to think about, you know, because we don't see the victims of what nation states do with, like, where's the cameras in Yemen? You know, I was on this America Unplugged the other day with Billy Ray Valentine. I said, you could call it a genocide. He goes, no, you can't call it a genocide. I said, okay, I get the nomenclature. Right. I get it.
Billy Ray is he's also very handsome, by the way. I want to throw it out
there. In real life, he's even more handsome. And I hate saying that. Yeah.
No, it's true though.
I can't go out with the guy because all these women love him.
I've known him since we were in our early 20s.
Push him away with a stick.
It's a scary
I'm just like,
thing.
Billy, can you leave? You know, I'm here, you know, and no,
put on a mask, dude. Yeah, I get you.
My closest friend. And yeah, so no, it's really, folks, it's a spiritual war.
Yeah,
and
amen.
we're in the quickening of things. There's everything happening all at once is going on. And, you know, it's something, if you listen to the Our Big Dumb Mouth podcast, they always play this clip of Alex Jones say, it's all happening. It's all happening. And it's all happening. And
the frogs
that's
are gay,
okay, though.
by the way. Yeah.
What's that?
You mean like Revelations?
The frogs are gay. What?
Yeah,
like Revelations, it's all happening, that type of thing?
Just what we've talked about in alternative media and conspiracy research for decades, you know, the consolidation of power, the new world order, the one world totalitarian socialist government that's on the horizon. This is what you have to watch out for. But I I really believe that they have overplayed their hand, and we're talking about the controllers here, folks.
Yes.
Right.
They've overplayed their hand. I think they've sped up the timeline in many ways. I think a lot of people are
They're still doing
awakening,
it.
and a lot of people just know that there's something wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, if this attack had happened 10 years ago, we'd already be doing something, but there isn't that momentum. 9/11, there was this, and Toby Keith was writing the songs about how we're going to put a boot up your ass, and I was being deployed, and red, white, and blue, and didn't even understand it, but we're going to go, and and Iraq somehow was on the chopping block, like
And
had nothing to
the
do
greatest movie ever made happened. Team America, World Police.
World Police. I got home from Iraq and I watched that in the theaters. I have never enjoyed myself so much.
I wanted him to
watching-
use that for your entry music, but they said
Oh, I would have.
Yeah,
I watched that in theaters with my first wife, and we'd both been in Afghanistan together. We laughed. So it was one of the greatest films because it just looked, it's so ridiculous.
Yep.
We're going to bring you some freedom, but we're going to blow everything up. Just,
Yep.
I mean,
movie.
if it wasn't so tragic, I mean, because you have to think about all the people. Look at the civilians, the people just trying to live their lives, they're hand to mouth, trying to feed their family, and then you got these, these politicians and dirty sociopathic types that are just always want war. That's what we got to stand up for, folks. If you want to quit thanking a veteran for his service and start ending these damn wars, we got to stop this. There's no reason for us to be fighting almost anywhere except here in our own backyard, where we need to protect our own citizens.
Mhm.
We don't. We've allowed the political process, which is rigged, to weaponize itself against us, the American people. And I don't fear what's happening in the Middle East. I fear the acceleration of things that are periphery to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's something that we're gonna be talking about I'll be talking about on my show Friday, and I'm sure we'll talk about on America Unplugged, because this story continues to unravel.
I'll also be advised that apparently there's news coming out that Hamas is now like, all right, dude, can we talk a little peace? They have gotten beaten to a pulp, and it's just begun. I don't genuinely believe that Israel will stop. I'm being honest with you. I think that this is my personal belief. I think Israel allowed this to happen so that they can wipe these people off the face of the earth. And I'm talking about Hamas, and show that they have full power and control, and leave their stamp on that part of the world. Your comments on that, and then if you can plug and promote anything. I got to tell you something. We could have you on for 5 hours, which we're not going to. I wanted to be a good host and keep you on for an hour straight. So your comments on that, and please promote and pontificate anything you have there, buddy.
Well, let's hope that it doesn't become a scorched earth policy by the Israeli government, because that will lead to a wider war. There'll be more sympathy for Hamas, and even with what they've done, it'll bleed over into actual military nation states like Iran. And again, Iran is a massive landmass, a very rich, oil-rich country. We in the United States have cut off our own oil supply. I mean, the Biden administration is keeping gas prices lower. I mean, it'd probably be $5 a gallon if they didn't sell off the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and just put it into the system. And we're not replenishing it. We didn't open up the Keystone Pipeline. We didn't do any of this stuff. I mean, this is a plan, folks. Like, we're being taken down. And who benefits? Well, these nation states like Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, these places benefit because they have so much energy. They put their petroleum out on the market. So this is a bigger play than terrorism or gliders or images on TV. This is a move on the grand chessboard. They're doing something. I don't think it has almost nothing to do really with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is really the same people. I mean, if you got to look at the history. The earth didn't happen yesterday. History's long. It goes back a long way, and you have to unpack that to have any sort of real opinion. And I hope I prefaced all of my opinions with, I don't know everything. I know enough to comment. I can give you, and I'm not taking a side either. It's a tragedy all the way around. And unfortunately, we live in this world, and we have to work out these. There's no escape.
Tony, before you go, again, I would like you to ask you to put over anything. I'm using wrestling terms. Please promote anything that you would love to promote. But Tony, listen, Billy Ray Valentine, again, is possibly one of the closest friends I have on this earth, my brother. And he thinks incredibly highly of you. I'm sorry if I'm embarrassing him, but he has nothing but great things to say. And apparently we find out that Tony does also find Billy Ray extremely handsome. So I'm not the crazy one
With
here.
a sexy voice, right?
Yeah, his voice is incredible. But with all that being said, my friend, yeah, I know, Colin, it's getting hot in here, brother. With all that being said, listen, I have a direct line to you, man. There may be a time or two that we may have to call on you, even if it's for 20, 30 minutes on a certain topic. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is it cool if we have you back, man?
Always. If I can make I mean, I'm always happy to talk. This is good for my brain. I have to think through some of these things. And I used to do a lot more broadcasting, and I've kind of cut it down and winnowed it down to my podcast. I have a podcast called Paratruther, because I used to be a paratrooper. And I've got the Arterburn radio transmission, which is the same podcast as my old radio show. I do one show a week. Then I'm on America Unplugged on Saturdays with the great Billy Ray Valentine and the legendary Don Jeffries, who wrote Hidden History. And then I do all kinds of other appearances and media. I sometimes fill in for David Knight, and I'm going to be on David Knight's show tomorrow, talk gold and silver and the monetary system and Bitcoin and the apocalypse. So,
and you're on Twitter and Instagram as well.
I am at Tony Arterburn.
On both, okay, so people can find you that way and keep track of every appearance you're doing. So, and
I'm playing this in honor of Tony. Yeah, America. Yeah, I censored myself. Tony, thank you again, man, for coming on, man. It has been an absolute pleasure, and you are everything Billy Ray said you would be and more.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. We appreciate it.
I'm not kidding. I'm going to text you, buddy. I'm going to probably ask you to come on again.
If I can make
next time you come on, Tony. Oh, next time you come on, Tony, we'll have to have you discuss how Saddam Hussein kept Iran in check.
Yes.
Oh, I know that. I know why. Yeah, we can do that. We can do it. We can talk a little.
And then we got rid of him.
And then we'll also talk about how Hulk Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik to take the world championship in 1984.
There's something to that. That's a good one. There's something to that.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you so much, man. Thank you. God bless you, man.
Thank you, Tony.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, brother.
See you soon.
What a freaking awesome guest, man. Thank you so much. And I'm going to knock him out here. Tony, I'm going to remove you right now, brother. You can just hit the red button.
Make sure you guys go check out Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto, or wisewolfgoldandsilver.com.
Yeah.
Get Wolfpack. You can get silver and gold shipped straight to your door.
Put that close to the computer. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Let me make your gimmicks bigger, because we know how small it is. Hold on.
Well, you made me there you go. My gimmicks are big
you
enough.
made her gimmicks bigger.
Well, her gimmicks are already big.
And by the way, I want to say hi to everybody. I didn't get a chance to say hi because we're trying to get as much in with Tony as possible, because he had
this is nice.
much valuable information. So I want to say hi to all of you. I know some of you were able to come and go before, but thank you for being here. Thank you for adding so many good questions. Hopefully they were answered, but we appreciate you being here. So it's nice to see so many of you in the chat. You're awesome.
You guys are fucking great.
Yes. Hi. Sorry, that was.
I
love you too. Mwah.
Jesus. So honestly, guys, we probably could have had Tony on for like 3 hours straight.
Oh my God, easily.
And
it was so fun hanging out with him in New York, like walking the streets and listening to him talk about all the different things that he's been through, and just going into the 9/11 monument and him talking about some of the things that he saw and how he felt during 9/11 and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun hanging out with Billy Ray Valentine and them down in New York. Like, excellent dude. Tony's an excellent dude.
My mommy,
100%.
My mommy made coffee. What did she make you the coffee, or did I make you the coffee? I don't remember.
She made the Bustelo. You made some Bustelo too, but she made the
Cafe
Bustelo.
Bustelo. That's very Floridian right there.
Yes.
It's
so
Cubano.
He's getting ready, April.
Huh? It's Cubano.
He's getting ready for Florida. Yeah, he's
There
getting
you
ready.
go.
I love it, man.
Oh, we're getting bits. We're getting bits here.
April, you sent me some. You sent me a positive story out there. Oh wait, I have
I
to
did
do the.
send you a positive story, and I also had a request for you guys. As well.
Sorry, that was late.
Yes, thank you. Bitties for titties.
Oh, I also have a little positive thing here as well.
Yeah. So my request involves you guys signing a petition. I know nobody likes to sign a petition, myself included, but there is one. If you go to exitthewho.com, there's some information right there, and it will fill you in on everything. But long story short, this is really important. If we do nothing, if America does nothing by December 1st, they're going to implement.
Is that it?
They're going to implement. Did you find it?
Is this it right here?
Hang on. Yeah, you can scroll down. So you can find the petition. So the WHO has crafted a pandemic treaty. It will give them the complete power over member nations, to respond to any pandemic, whether it's real or created. And they will be able to establish all vaccine passports, global health surveillance. We will lose all autonomy of our own health. So if they tell you everybody has to be vaccinated, everybody has to take this medication, nobody can travel, everybody must be isolated, the WHO will be dictating everything unless we opt out. There is a very easy way for every country to opt out. All the country has to do is write a letter and say, based on this, we, the United States of America, are going to opt out. Biden does not seem to have any interest in doing this. However,
of course,
if we get 100,000 signatures on that petition, he has to pay attention to it. By law, they have to pay attention to it. So the problem is nobody's talking about it. Nobody's pushing it. Nobody's sharing it. The media is not mentioning any of this.
Do we scan this gimmick here and we can sign the petition?
Yeah, you can. And this guy's looking for volunteers to help as well. So if you can sign it, if you can share it to your Facebook page, your Instagram, your Twitter, your X, your whatever, share it, push it, just do a little explanation. Hey, the deadline is December 1st. We have to get enough signatures on here. We do not want the WHO dictating everything in a pandemic. We saw what they did. So they said that there were no early treatments. They said that masks were integral. They said it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. They said that HCQ and ivermectin didn't work. They said that everybody had to be ventilated. They said people were dying in droves and that they're dying with COVID or from COVID, not with COVID. And then we found out all this stuff afterwards. So imagine if they screwed up that badly, like with everything that they did, how bad it could go the next time around.
True.
So
I'm trying to.
That one's important.
I feel like our government is going to do whatever they can to be a part of that and not opt out.
They are. That's why we have to kind of push it and enforce them.
Before we jump into your adorable video that you sent me, I had one that kind of like took me for a loop, and I thought it was this is just check this out, and then let's briefly talk about this, okay? And let me share it. I'm not going to give you any preface to it. Check this out, because this really hit me, and I wanted to see what your thoughts are, and I wanted to get your opinions on this. So let me just share my screen here. I don't know if you've seen this before. Let me just refresh.
I have not.
Oh, I love this whatever crew. They're awesome.
All right, you talked right over it. It's fine. I'm used to it. All right, here we go. Let me just refresh it one more time. Here we go. Shh. Of course.
All you guys want is pussy. Yeah. Or could it be that the men that only want pussy, the men that only want sex from women, is because that's all that the women have to offer? Because for me, if pussy's all you're offering, pussy's all I want.
I agree with him.
Oh, he shuts a lot of these women up. If you ever watch this show,
I agree with him.
He is. Yeah.
So
he has a lot of really good points on how a lot of these new
if you have more to offer, the guy
like
men will appreciate that.
So now here's the thing. The reason why I bought that is, it goes the other way. And what do I mean?
Yeah.
So let's say with a man, right? A man that has tons of money, a man that's very successful, maybe an older guy, and he's like, I can't find any love because all they want is my money. Well,
Yeah, that's 100% true, right? I've seen a study where they looked at kids, like they looked at different age groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at how much money a person made and at what age group they were, and if they were in a relationship. Okay, the younger you were, the less money you had, you were more likely to be in a relationship compared to being 40 or 30 and only making like $15,000 to $30,000 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
The everyone that was making over $100,000 a year in their study, Ray, was in a relationship.
Mhm.
So that just goes to show you that, and these are men, that women only care if you're making $100,000 or more. They don't care if you're young, you're old, or whatever. It
No,
looks like to this study, and that's why
I
it's great
disagree
to
with
have
that too.
it's great to have a woman's perspective as well to say this. But you see, like, as just this, and it's just a study, right? But as the study, everyone that said that they made over $100,000 a year, no matter what their age, was all in a relationship. And to piggyback on the whatever show's point, he's done an episode where he's asked all these women, he's like, what's your perfect guy? What's your perfect guy? And almost all of the women that they poll want a guy that's like 6'3", making all this money, doing this, doing that, doing this. And it's literally 1% of the population. So a majority of women in the population have their eye for one, but it's usually these younger women, April.
But
it's a lot of
And then a guy
down,
could come
April.
back. A guy could come back to a woman like that and say, "Well, my perfect woman is also 5'10". She looks like a Barbie doll. She has double D tits and the ass that is as hard as this wall. She can cook like a chef.
My wife cooks like a chef and has nice tits.
She can
I'm
have
sorry.
any
It is what it
discussion
is.
with me. She can talk to me about everything from all current events, and she's funny as fuck and
My
gives
wife
the
is
best blowjob ever.
Well, let me shut up. It's good though. Real great.
So that's about as realistic as, what women are asking for too, right?
A great blowjob.
That is true.
I have nice tits.
So, I mean, how many women can live up to that?
But how much of that is too society putting all those pressures on both sides, right? It's all society but that's what I like about the whatever, because he is trying to pull people back and be like, hey, your views are just as a little bit ridiculous as what this new era of feminism is trying to push on people.
Well, I think that this new era of feminism has basically convinced women to give up their power, their feminine power. They've convinced women that sex means nothing and that's all they're reduced to is just their looks. Just put a bunch of stuff on Instagram and show your body, and that's all you are. And by the way, any type of body is fine. And they just basically have given away everything, whether it's sex or their power. They just have given it all away. They've got nothing left. So any woman that has been around for a little while knows that none of this is true. Men are not just interested in pussy because they can get that anywhere. Matter of fact, it's almost easier for them to stay home and jerk off. They have a million different toys now, and they don't have to deal with your bullshit, your drama, and they don't have to pay for anything by taking you out. So if they're actually making the effort to go out with you, they're probably looking for a little bit more than just pussy.
We're going to end with April's little video, but we still have some time. So I wanted to tell you guys a story. Do you have time for a story?
Wait, I wanted to point something out. Somebody said that luckily pandemics only happen once every 100 years.
Oh,
and there's no need to worry about anything.
What about bird flu? It's like the other
I just wanted to point out that the next pandemic could spring soon. It's predicted by the WHO from the U.S. meat supply. A new report finds the next global pandemic could come from the United States. That's a sobering message of a report from Harvard Law School and New York University. So,
and you know what?
I just want you to know that, because usually when they tell us what's coming, pay attention.
This is also
just like
that is why you need to sign this. That's why you need to sign this petition.
I got to jump in there. This is more pussification because they don't want us eating meat. I'm not even kidding. I think
100%.
They don't want us They don't want us being strong.
That is the way that they will get people to stop eating meat. They'll tell them that a pandemic's coming through the meat.
Shit.
That's how they'll get everybody vegetarian.
Now, Colin will still eat his weed.
Just start making them eat bugs.
How many pieces of that weed cheese did you eat during the show? It was like a whole lot.
It's not weed cheese. So super HMG listener, Craig Thomas Horsley, has his own, former veteran. It's a veteran-owned company. He smokes
Fuck,
his own meats and cheeses.
I have
And
to.
this is
I
a
have to-
Monterey Jack cheese that he smoked. And
Yum.
this is some habanero beef jerky that he also smoked. And I got a couple pounds and I got 2 blocks of cheese. I think I got a habanero smoked cheese in there as well. So I've been
How do we
snacking
order
on
it?
this.
How do we
We
order
need
it?
we
How do
need
whole
we
people
order
to
it?
entire time.
sponsor this show. That
How do we
like
order
small
it?
businesses like
He
that.
does these. So he does these in small batches. I think he cooks maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So check out TNH Barbecue on Facebook, I think, or if you just Google search TNH Barbecue. He's small business. He just started this maybe in the last year or so. I got to taste test some of the product. It's excellent. And then of course I bought this. I did not. This is not. Colin paid his hard-earned dollars for this.
Colin,
Good.
one second, Colin. One second.
It's delicious though. Like you
Hold
can
on.
smell the smoke on it. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Colin,
he's
so
gonna
good.
lose his shit if you don't shut up. Go on.
1 second. Is there any way? First, I have to apologize to Craigie because I had highlighted one of his comments. It was a long question or a long statement because he also served in the military. Now I lost it like an idiot. I wanted to bring it up to Tony.
Yeah, he was asking Tony about something. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry because we were limited in what we can do and what we can ask and things that we can bring up to Tony. So I apologize. Now, is there a way that you can directly hook up April with Craigie H so that we can, maybe help him do some business, taste.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We can find him on Facebook. I can put a little messenger together and introduce. Actually, if I wasn't on my phone, I could do it right now. We could hook him up on Facebook together.
Let's get that done.
He was asking what time frame Tony had boots on the ground over there. He said he was on the USS Theodore Roosevelt during the OEF, providing air support with the F-18s. He worked on the high power radar and always saw the F-18s leaving the carrier with bombs, landing later with no bombs. He was hoping fixing that one component of the aircraft helped save Americans and allies' lives during that time of September 2009 to April 2010.
Yeah. So I apologize to Craig H. Can I tell you guys a quick story?
Yes.
And it's kind of like, and there's kind of, I want to hear what you guys think about this. So I'm going to tell it really quickly because I memorized it by. So there was a man, right? And he was sitting with his wife and he noticed that his wife was cooking a ham, right? And when she was cooking the ham, she cuts the end off the ham and she puts it in the oven. Now, he asked his wife, he says, babe, why do you always cut the end off the ham? And she goes, well, my mother always did it, so I do it. So he goes, do me a favor, call your mom and ask her why she always cuts the end off the ham. So they call the mom, and the mom goes, she said, hey, guys, how you doing? Why, Mom, why did you cut the end off the ham all the time before you cooked it? And she goes, well, I really don't know. My mother, your grandmother used to do it all the time, so I did it. So they said, you know what? We got to call grandma. So grandma, right? They call her. She's like, hello. And she's all old and stuff and happy to hear from the mom. Why did you cut the end off the ham all the time when you put it in the oven? She goes, well, we had small ovens, so the ham didn't fit. And speaking for society, this is how we are. We do things.
But we've just always done it that way.
Right. We've always done it that way, or we emulate what's going on. And this is my message to the young people and the children out there. Children are watching what we're doing right now. Our children, our kids, our babies, they're watching exactly what we're doing. And much like generations before, they're going to keep doing craziness and not know why they're doing it. This is why these kids are running in, robbing stores, acting like assholes to police officers, not respecting authority, not respecting the military. That was a cute little story, but that story is deep as hell.
It is.
Be careful what you do in front of your children, in front of young people, because they will copy, they will emulate, and they will have no idea why they do it.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
You have anything before I play your cute little adorable? Where the hell's Colin?
I do. I don't know. He ducked out for a second. Maybe he's pooping.
No, I'm still here. I'm
He's
working on some stuff behind the scenes. You guys.
I do. I watched Coco.
You did.
Oh my God, I loved it. And I cried at the end.
Coco was awesome, was it?
I love it.
It's such a good movie.
Mama Coco.
Who's your friend? Who loves you, April?
I know you love me,
brother. Let me tell you something, brother.
Te amo.
I knew. See, that movie is absolutely all heart.
Oh, the visual.
Beautiful.
So
story.
good. And the swerve at the end, just didn't expect that. I was like,
I knew you would love it.
I love a good swerve.
It got you.
I love a good swerve. Yeah. I'll totally watch that again. I would watch that again.
Man, I didn't,
I love animated movies though.
Just real quick, I don't know if you were people when Tony kept pointing, he had like 24-inch pythons, brother.
Did he?
You didn't notice those things?
No, but you know what? When you said he's a power lifter, bodybuilder, I 100% appreciate that.
Bro, let me tell you, he was doing
this
in the military too.
There's discipline.
Yeah.
But look,
discipline.
He was doing this, and I thought it was his leg. I was like, how is he getting his leg above his shoulder? And it was his arm. So big. All right, so I'm gonna play. I can't play the music.
AB Twitch, Alex, I'm talking about the movie Coco. It's a Pixar film. It's animated.
What? Why?
It's a Day of the Dead. It's a story based on the legend of the Day of the Dead, the Sugar Skulls. And
it's about how not to let
and family. It's about family.
It's about not forgetting your loved ones in the past. Just because it's a beautiful
it's a really great
story.
So
happy you watched it, April.
So yeah,
I'm so feel good, right?
Yeah.
See, April loves me more than Colin. Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Oh shit! All right, I'm gonna play.
I was Ray. I was her first.
Oh,
you never forget your first.
You never forget your first, Ray.
Both can suck it. So listen, I'm gonna play this little video. Unfortunately, I can't play the audio. So what I'm gonna do is I didn't
even think they needed audio.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have you describe it, April, for the people listening on audio only. Okay, is that fair?
Does it need description?
Well, yeah, for the people that just listen to the podcast.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm gonna refresh it. I'm gonna refresh it here. Let me just All
right, we are about to see a little old lady trying to cross at a busy intersection.
Mm-hmm.
She has a walker, so she's not doing super great, and there's a lot of cars.
Not the most mobile.
I'm gonna hit play now. Here we go. We're refreshing it. No music. Thank you.
So these cars are just flying by her, and she's standing there, and she is not able to get moving. So she starts crossing, and then a couple of cars stop for her, and she's going at a snail's pace. So a guy gets out of his car, he stops, and another guy joins him. They flank either side of her. One grabs her walker and takes it over to the side. Then they could both come back. They lift her up, carry her across 4 lanes, four-lane highway, and put her down the other side. So, and then she gives them a hug. One of them a hug. The other guy goes running back, grabs her walker, drops it off. Meanwhile, the road stopped. There's crazy traffic. They run back over and jump into their car. So
that's dope.
It's very human, something we're not seeing enough of these days.
So when you sent me this video, I was like, are those guys gonna beat her? Like
I was waiting for
you're
horrible.
They stole her walker. That's what Ray's first thought.
No,
I never thought that. I was like, this poor lady. I think it was so nice. These guys stopped and helped her.
We've been
oh my God, my heart melted.
We've been so conditioned to see negative. This was just such a beautiful moment.
Look at the way he's running up to her. He's got nothing but good vibes going on.
I know, but when you showed me, I just saw the lady in the walk and the dude running up to her. I don't know.
Okay.
He's so used to seeing the stuff on the it's PTSD from the subway.
She's like 85, 90 years old. They both hug her. She's like a little grandma.
She's so sweet. And
we're like, it looks like it's like not, we're in a city here. And yeah.
Don't judge me, but I literally got
no, you know what? People spend too much time dehumanizing others, and it's nice to see something human for a change. And people actually care. So I love that. My heart melted.
Well, it is 8:30, April, and I guess this was a nice. What do you think, Colin? You think we did okay with Tony? You think Tony will come back, or he's going to block me on?
Oh, Tony will definitely come.
I loved him. He was so
Tony's.
Great.
She's been on shows with Tony before. She's done stuff with him before.
I never saw. I don't think I ever like face to face with him. I think I was always like call in. So
that's
really cool.
He's gonna come. Tony's awesome.
So, cool. Well, thank you, you guys. If you want to support us, if you really like us, and you want to put a little money where your mouth is, check us out on Patreon, the A Show. You can watch the replays on where are we? Twitch.tv, the A Show. You can come and see me. I'm April Hunter on Twitter, Real April Hunter on Instagram. And yes, we are all pec flexing for you. Where are you guys going to be?
Well, you can follow me on social media everywhere at Big Ray Hernandez. Hey, listen, every single day. So I went back on TikTok. I said, let me stop doing the politics thing. Let me stop doing all the negative shit. You know what? I'm just gonna do what I do. I'm gonna do 2-minute, 3-minute videos on wrestling. Just my opinion on wrestling, memories, and I do this thing every Friday, which my favorite finishing move Friday. Check it out. Check out my TikToks. I also put the same videos on Instagram. So follow me at Big Ray Hernandez. And go ahead, Colin. What are you laughing at?
How many of your finishing move Fridays have been Ron Jeremy?
Oh, you're an idiot.
Oh, ouch.
You are a fucking idiot, Colin. Colin, put it over your social media, you prick.
That's pretty funny though.
All right, you can find me at Colin Weissog on Twitter or on the X. Sorry, hang on, wait, I got to do the proper.
I hate the name X. I hate X. All I can think of is
you get X
and then 90s extreme everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right, Alex, because my pec flex is 100 times better. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, hold on.
Yeah, it's always better than all of ours. You're the ultimate. You're the world champion in pec flexing.
Big ass titties.
All right, guys. I guess we're out of here. We love you. Thank you for joining us. Please share this video, especially the replay. Share it on Twitter. Share it on Instagram. Share fucking segments on TikTok.
Please do.
Go anywhere. I don't care. Just fucking share it. Just tell everybody about it. Go to the top of your house and scream. Be like, hey, we love the A show. The A show is the best. We love April's titties. They're huge.
And she showed me her boobies, and I like them too.
Thank you for being here. We will see you next Wednesday live, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll see you Wednesday. We love you guys.
Peace.
Stop eating that weed cheese, Colin.
It was so much cooler to say
Delicious.
see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, you freaking